Okay, we are live and we're going to have about a 16-minute pregame show. You can see by the official timekeeping piece, the Grand Seiko Diver, we're going to have a 16-minute pregame show. The official start time of this emergency broadcast is 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. And two things triggered this emergency broadcast. Well, first of all, there's some things going on with Russia and so forth that people wanted to talk about, but and some things going on with Bitcoin. Those could be related. But there was a post on Facebook about the clasp, the deployant clasp on Grand Seiko being too thick. And so we're going to talk about that. And of course, they also talked about the clasp on the diver, the stunning diver, being too thick and too cumbersome and so on and so forth and ugly and all those things. So we're going to talk about those issues. There was also talk on the Watches channel about the pushers on the chronograph that Grand Seiko has, the huge pushers, the gigantic pushers, and how that watch is just butt ugly. There was talk about that, so we're going to talk about that. I'm trying to think what else. I think those are the main topics that are new to this show. Well, some of which are new, some of which are going to be things that we've already talked about. But anyway, we're going to go into excruciating detail on these issues. And then, Omega. I have a call into Steve, but I haven't heard from him, so I don't know if he's going to come in to talk about the Omega. Let's talk about Omega's full conversion to a Homage brand after the recent Rolex lookalike releases. Well, we'll talk about that, actually. That has come up before when folks said that Grand Seiko on the 005 that I had, that GMT that they copied the Explorer 2. And yeah, we'll talk about that. And I'll tell you, I think we can lead with that. I hate to do so, though, before the official start time. This is the pregame show. But just to address that issue alone, here's my thought process on brands copying something that another brand did. Let's assume that the copying is legal, right? Okay, Triforce Rich is in the house. We have a lot to talk about, but I'm double tasking, listening in the background. Call Jett. I wouldn't want what I said to be taken, not butt ugly, but better options certainly exist. I didn't quote you. Others have said that. Kyle, you didn't say that. I'm not quoting you. So anyway, I always like to bring up the extremes of every situation, just to draw a spotlight on the issue. So as far as copying things, if it's something that there is no patent infringement, it's otherwise legal to do, I think it's a good thing if a brand copies a great feature on another watch. When I buy a watch, I want the best possible watch I can get to meet the need that I'm buying that watch for. That's what I'm interested in when I buy a watch. I don't care how the brand gets to that point as far as delivering the watch that I want. Did they take some great elements from 3 or 4 different watches and put them together and come up with something great that I'm willing to give over my hard-earned money for? Fine, that's okay with me. I don't want them to feel like their hands are tied, that they can't, if some other watch has a great feature or a great look or whatever, that they can't, use that same thing. I mean, this is how we progress. People come up with something great and then other people copy it, right? It happens all the time. So now, sometimes there are legal issues where something is patented or whatever, and then they can fight those things out. Fight those things out in court, right? So, dang, who said that? I don't remember. A bunch of people have said things like that. Just go into any of the forums. You'll see what the kinds of things people say. So, but to get on these these specific examples here of what we're talking about, the clasp. Let's deal with the clasp right out of the chute. Okay, let's deal with the clasp. All right, so we've got this post in the Grand Seiko Owners Club. Somebody posted this side-by-side picture of a Cartier with a very trim clasp and a very thin strap, and basically said, you know, why can't Grand Seiko do that? Why is Grand Seiko's, which is on the left, why is it thicker? Okay. And there are a couple of things I want to say about this. And this also relates to the other issues with the pushers and with the diver and so on, is the macro photographs are always going to skew what you think you're seeing. It's not going to necessarily be what you see in the macro photograph is not necessarily what you're going to see in real life and what you're going to experience in real life. And one commenter commented on this and said that the Cartier is awkward to use because it's so thin. I guess the way you release it or whatever, it's kind of fidgety and awkward to use. And so in real world use, like right now, I'm wearing a Gitman Brothers 15.5/33 shirt. I normally wear a 16/34. This was older back before I went to the size 16. And the size 16 is actually a little bit loose in the collar for me, but it has enough room in the cuffs. I can't even button this cuff, okay, because the shirt is so tight. I can't, this one's buttoned, but you can see it's absolutely tight to my wrist. There's no room for this faux pay to go underneath it, right? So there's absolutely no way that I can even button this. If I button this, the watch could go under it, but it would be so tight that I couldn't move, right? So this isn't even buttoned right now, okay? But having said that, for most of my shirts that are size 16 shirts, the watch goes under the cuff fine without any issues. Okay. And now my wrist is abnormally large and my forearm's abnormally large for the rest of my size. So that's why I really should have custom made shirts if I wanted everything to be the way it should be, but I'm not willing to spend the money for custom made shirts. So having said all that, in my opinion, this clasp looks great on this watch and it looks great on my wrist. It's about the same thickness as the watch itself. I compared the thickness of this total thickness to the watch itself, and it's about the same, which this is 10.2 millimeters. The pushers are, in my estimation, just the right size for me to easily grip and for me to easily open this clasp. If they were any smaller, I think it would be more difficult to use this clasp and to make sure that I've got it snapped in correctly and then to open it. I think if it was smaller, it would be awkward to use. So I guess what I'm saying is, to me, because I buy my watches to wear and actually use. So for me, I like something that is designed to actually function well. And the same thing is true with the diver clasp. It's very easy with the dual trigger release. It's got a flip lock that's very easy for me to grab with my fingernail and open up. And then it's got two triggers to release it that are, again, very easy for me to use. And so it's on and off my wrist just like instantly without any potential problems of me dropping the watch or anything like that. So it's extremely functional. So all I'm saying is sometimes something can be made so that it looks great in a macro photograph, but that doesn't necessarily mean in daily normal use, it's the best solution. Okay. Just like these really trim suits that these guys buy, these fitted suits, like the kind of stuff that Rich would like. right? Okay, they might look great. You know, the male model with the perfect body puts it on and he poses for some photographs for the catalog and for the website and so on, and it looks great. He's got the thing on for 10 or 15 minutes, right? And they're taking the photographs and all that, and then he changes out of it and changes back into his comfortable clothes, and he's fine, right? But for something that I'm going to wear, if I go to the office and I'm going to wear it all day or something, I want comfort. I want something I can move in, right? I want a little bit of extra room. So everything that I buy and use, it's about function. It's about, can I use it and am I comfortable using it? And does it somehow enhance my life experience, right? I could give a rat's rear end what it looks like on a macro photo on the Grand Seiko Owners Club. I could give a rat's rear end about that. What I care about is what it looks like on my wrist and how it functions every day when I wear it. And I can tell you right now, this watch, the clasp is fantastic. I love it. No issues. And it looks great. And people that have seen it have said that it looks great. Okay. So no run strips or errors on the clasp. For Grand Seiko, let's see here. I think Omega screwed themselves on their new pastel dial watches. They made too many variants, and that model is not in high demand. I don't think these are not going to be flying off the. I don't think these are not going to be flying off the. Well, okay, I'm not sure. I think, in other words, they're not going to fly off the shelves. I guess is what you're trying to say, Carlos. Plus, the Rolex colors are much nicer to my eyes. Omega are more subdued, and that can be a good thing too. Well, more choices for people. Craig, how much damage can Biden do to BTC? Nothing. I think the only thing he can do if he's smart is help BTC. He can't hurt BTC. He can help it, but he can't hurt BTC. That ship has sailed. There's too many big money people in BTC now for the politicians to be able to hurt it, depending on what you want. Durs in the house, Carlos agreed. I don't even want that Rolex pastel models. Okay. The new Seamaster 300 in green has already been named the Sulk. Okay. The SBGN 005 has no micro adjustments with the clasp is similarly trim, almost disappears like on a president. Yeah. Well, see, that's a trade-off, right? If you give up the micro adjustments and things like that, then you can get a trimmer clasp. So it's a trade-off. How come? Okay. Breaking news, I purchased a GS paying with BTC. Yes, Carlos purchased a GS proving the usefulness of BTC for international transactions. Your clasp appears flatter. Are we sure they are the same model class, same dimensions? It looks the same, but see, you got to understand in this photo, whoops, I'm sorry. In this photo, it's not on the wrist. When it's on the wrist, that the metal piece of the folding piece is pushed against the leather strap and it fits flatter, right? So this picture isn't even showing it on a wrist, right? So there's that. But no, it looks the same. Mine has the two triggers. It's folded through the same way. The other thing about it is this setup is very easy to adjust. And that other one looks like, it almost looks like the strap has to be a certain length. It doesn't, I'm not even sure if on that Cartier one, if you can even adjust it easily. Maybe you can. It looks like maybe it's feeding through there. I don't know. It's tricky looking as far as how you actually adjust that one. But assuming you can adjust it, again, there was a comment in that thread that a gentleman said that it was kind of kludgy to open it and close it. I don't know what the issue was because, again, I haven't seen one. But this one, the function is great. And the part that is the thickest part of the gold part is about the same thickness as 2 layers of the strap. Here's where the strap is overlapping, right? So there's 2 layers of the strap there with the keepers. This is about the same thickness of that, maybe a hair thicker, but I mean, I think it looks great. It's got a great presence. The gold looks stunning. I'm good with it. I wouldn't have bought it if I wasn't. So there's that. Um, let's see. Typo. The Omegos will not be flying off that's correct. Craig, have you heard from Bree? Has she been kidnapped in South America? As far as I know, she's okay. I heard from her as recently as yesterday. She's supposed to be back on Saturday. So we'll know if she survived the trip on Saturday. Okay. Since it was brought up, let's go ahead and bring up the Bitcoin thing. I got all my friends that are clueless about Bitcoin. They all sent me that thing about Biden, coming out with some guidelines as far as what they want to do regarding crypto, right? Now we got to protect everybody. This is what the government always wants to do. They always claim they want to protect people. And Craig, why do millennials treat their watches so delicately? Well, some of them have maxed out their credit cards to buy them. So they're scared to death that they might damage it, and then they won't be able to sell it for a profit or sell it at all. I'm not a huge fan of green dials. Okay. Triforce Rich. Craig, are there videos on this channel of you stating you don't like the class when you bought it and thinking about replacing it? When I first got the 231, that watch, I actually asked Steve, could I put one of the other clasps on it? They have a clasp on some of the sport watches that has micro adjustments, but does not have the extension mechanism. So it's a little bit trimmer, but it does have like 4 micro adjustments. And I was asking him about switching to that class. When it comes to GS, the deployment class is the least of their problems. The price of their deployment class, however, is a huge problem. The price of their deployment class, however, is a huge problem. Well, I don't understand. The class comes with the watch. Oh, wait. The deployment, I'm sorry, deployment class for the leather. I thought Steve said they were pretty reasonable. Aren't they like $200 in steel or something? That's not that bad if you ask me. I mean, I don't know what Rolex would charge, but I'm sure it would be more than $200. Everything about okay. All right. So here's the thing. My liberal buddy down in Virginia, Dan, he sends me an email. Everybody sends me the email of this outline that Biden came out with as far as how they're going to deal with cryptocurrencies, right? And everybody's like, oh my God, they're going to kill Bitcoin. They're going to do all that. Of course, Bitcoin went up 8% after he released that thing. Okay. So that's how that whole thing worked. But it's just hilarious, right? First of all, that people think that these cryptocurrencies out here, that they have anything to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is its own thing over here. Okay. It is anti-fragile. It is decentralized. It is not beholden to any government, including the United States government. Okay. And it's going to do its own thing. And the game theory that's going to play out is eventually everybody's going to have to embrace Bitcoin because it is going to be the protocol for money transfer on the internet, period, full stop. It is going to be the protocol. So if you want to mess around with money on the internet, which everybody does, you're going to be using Bitcoin one way or the other. You're going to be using the Bitcoin rails one way or the other. Okay. So everybody's going to have to get on board, just like everybody uses the same standards for email, the same standards these days for streaming video. They're pretty much all using the same standards. So that's the way that's going to work. It's a protocol. Okay. Now, all these people coming out with crypto projects and their own tokens and all this stuff, a lot of them are going to be shut down because a lot of them are going to be treated as securities. Okay, so they're going to be shut down in the first place. And those that survive are going to have to be regulated as securities. And so it's going to be a whole framework of regulations around those. But they have nothing to do with Bitcoin. They're completely a different animal than Bitcoin. The CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, again, has nothing to do with Bitcoin. They're not going to be on a blockchain. They're not going to be decentralized. They're basically going to be a glorified Excel spreadsheet, right, running that the government controls. and it's just going to be a way for the government to have their own rails for dollars to move around on the internet. Okay, but again, it's going to have nothing to do with Bitcoin. Now, if they're smart, they would use the Bitcoin network, but most of them are going to try to do their own thing, and it's just going to be an electronic version of the US dollar is all it's going to be. A tokenized version of the US dollar, which is no big thing. I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, it's going to be the way they're moving it around is the only thing that's going to change. And it will be more efficient, and it will be easier, for example, for the government to send out payments to people. Like they had to go through all this rigmarole of mailing checks to people and all this stuff when they did the stimulus. If there's a central bank digital currency, the people will just be able to have a wallet, and they'll just be able to instantly send the money right to that wallet. So it'll make it easier for the government to move money around, and specifically to move money directly to the citizenry. So if they want to go to something like universal basic income, it'll make it easy for them to do all that. So it'll actually make it easier for the government to spend more money and to devalue the dollar faster, which will help Bitcoin. So there you go. That's how the whole thing is going to work. The grid is laughing. GS clasps are outrageously priced, $457 for my stainless steel GS to point. I think that David Williams paid a lot less than that. So it sounds like they've gone up. I wonder how much one would be for a Rolex. I bet you it wouldn't be cheap. What about Omega? How much is theirs? Anyway, I'm glad I bought a watch that came with it, a gold one. My God, for that kind of money, Durr, maybe you should have just bought an 002. At the rate the prices are dropping on 002s, maybe you could buy an 002, for $457 and get the clasp with it. That'd be a hell of a deal. I'll tell you, who got a great deal on an 002? It was, what's his name? Got the 002. How come I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden? Anyway, maybe you can get a really good deal on the 002. What else? There was something else we were going to talk about. Oh, Russia. Oh my God. So same liberal friend of mine. Oh, Biden's doing such a good job, taking on the Russians, blah, blah, blah. He's doing everything right. And I'm thinking to myself, I finally, when he said all this stuff, I said, in my book, he couldn't be doing things more incorrectly. He couldn't be screwing up. He couldn't be screwing the pooch more than he already is. I mean, let's look at this. Let's look at what he's doing. He is figuring out any way he can to poke the Russian bear without declaring war, without actually going to war with them. He's figuring out anything he can do to poke the Russian bear, right? Without actually going to war. And seeing how far he can push Putin by poking the bear before Putin does something really stupid, like use a tactical nuke or something like that, right? And this is a good thing. This is a good thing that the United States of America is poking the Russian bear. I can't think of any scenario where that's a good thing. So, but I guess that's just me, If it were me, I'd leave the Russian bear alone. I wouldn't mess with the Russian bear. Those are some nasty MFers, right? When they use their war machine, they break things and kill people. They are a blunt instrument, and they throw lots of bodies and material at their enemy, and they wear them down, and they do a lot of destruction. Just ask the Nazis what they did to them. Okay? It's not a good idea. In my humble opinion, it's not a good idea to poke the Russian bear. So that's all I'm going to say about the Russian thing. He should leave those people alone. He shouldn't be messing with their money. He shouldn't be messing with the oligarchs' super yachts. He shouldn't be putting a whole bunch of sanctions on him. He should leave those guys alone. They've been fighting in Europe for thousands of years. They're going to continue to fight for thousands more, most likely. Let them fight it out. That's what I say. That's what I say. Okay. Dave also got the smaller deployant clasp for that watch because it was a smaller strap. Omega deployant was much cheaper when I got mine, less than half. Okay, so we can solve this problem, Durr. Wear the day date, and sell all the other pieces. Just sell all the other pieces, put the money in Bitcoin, and wear the day date. You're a classy guy. You're a good-looking guy. You dress nice. There's no reason for you to watch anything other than a day date. No reason whatsoever. So do that. Triforce Rich. Craig, having been married to a Russian, have you learned a lot about their culture? I've been there several times, and they're great people. I love them. I love the Russian people. I think they're great people. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. And I think that like a lot of areas in the world, we've been sticking our nose in a lot more than we should. And we've been messing with the Russians for many, many years, including the entire Cold War. It's just, I think it's unfortunate that we think that we have to continually mess with the Russians. The Russians are no threat to us unless we poke them. The Russian bear is not a threat to us if we just leave it alone. If we keep poking the Russian bear, I think the Russian bear is a tremendous potential threat in a lot of ways. I mean, next thing that's going to happen is they'll probably cut off the oil and gas flow to Europe. And then everybody will say, oh, look what he's doing now. Look what he's doing now. Well, duh. I mean, you know, it's like these things are predictable. Okay. You think this is just going to be a one-way thing where everybody's just going to screw with him and poke at him and he's not going to slash back, right? What do you think bears do? I can't wait until this whole thing is over with because I see the potential of a really bad situation developing here. Really bad. And I don't see anything that we're doing that so far that is going to diffuse the situation. That's my worry. Is I think we're doing exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. I think Lamont Jackson and Chip Wong could do a better job than Biden and oh boy. Okay, what else were we going to talk about? Okay, so we talked about Craig. I emailed you some pictures of a limited edition GS SBGA 441 with a black snowflake dial. Only 38 pieces were made, and there is a yellow gold dust sprinkled throughout the dial. Whoa, are you thinking about getting it? All right, let me see if I can pull it up. I like it. I'm not the biggest fan of that angular case, but it's not like it's a deal killer for me. It's still a better case than, like, for example, the super case that they had on the sub. Still better than that. At least it's got, decent taper to the lugs and got that little angled piece there that goes to the bracelet. Again, if you like the look of it in person, that's the important thing. The macro shots are always going to exaggerate anything, right? But I like the gold GS. Let me see. And I like the gold secondhand too. Yeah, I'm sure it looks stunning in person would be my guess. Do you have a line on it? Are you going to get one of those? That's pretty cool. I'm sure Bree is staying at Carlos's villa. He can't help his conquistador instincts. Well, that would be good. If she's staying there, then we know she's safe. We know she's safe if he's staying there at the secure southern compound. The secure southern compound. Let's see. Conquistadora, that is certain. Not sure about my family. Oh, they'd welcome her with open arms. She's adorable. Everybody likes Brianna. Everybody likes Brianna. Let me see. Okay, we dealt with the fact. Okay, so here's the things that we dealt with so far. The clasp on the 002 is amazing. The clasp on the 002 is amazing. Okay, centered on the wrist there. The clasp is absolutely amazing. Okay, so we've dealt with that, and it works great. It looks great. The clasp on the 231 is amazing. Looks great. Extremely functional. Balances out the watch very nicely. Goes along with the heavy duty, no nonsense, just get the job done persona of the 231. Just a heavy duty, heavy use, extreme condition piece. Okay, so it goes along with um, that whole theme. So let's see. So we dealt with that. We dealt with the 002. We dealt with the 231. We dealt with Bitcoin can't be killed by government, including Joe Biden. And in fact, there are members of government that are buying Bitcoin. There are senators that are buying Bitcoin, congressmen that are buying Bitcoin. There are governors that are embracing and buying Bitcoin. There are mayors that are making their city Bitcoin friendly and opening their arms to Bitcoiners like Miami. Miami ain't no small city, guys. In Miami, the mayor is super pro Bitcoin. There are countries like El Salvador who have made Bitcoin legal tender. There are others that look like they're going to follow suit. We'll see if they do. So, so yeah, the government shutting down Bitcoin ship has sailed. They lost their opportunity. Should have done it 5 or 6 years ago. I thought they were going to do it like 8 years ago. I thought they were going to do it in 2013. That's like what, 9 years ago now. I thought they were going to do it then. I first heard about it in 2011. I thought absolutely they're going to shut it down. There's no way they're going to stand for this. Then in 2013, I revisited it and I said, wow, they haven't shut it down. And that's when I actually started buying some Bitcoin. Not enough, unfortunately, then, but I started buying some Bitcoin because I said, hey, if they haven't shut it down yet, maybe they're not going to. And then around 2015 or so, I started buying more. And then, you know, every time it would last another 2 years, I would buy more, right? Because I'd say that the chances of it being shut down, the longer it's around, the less likely it can be shut down, right? It's getting bigger and stronger all the time. So that's that whole thing. Let's see. No plans on getting the black snowflake. They're far too difficult to find. I just thought you and your channel would enjoy seeing it. Okay, no worries. Is the Prius the ultimate driving machine? Yeah, especially with gasoline, $5 or $6 a gallon, depending on where you are in the country. It's funny. I had people, you know, that make fun of me for having a Prius, and now they all say, "Wow, that was a good move getting a Prius, right?" So yeah, it's the way to go. It's a great road car too. It's great for road trips. We're going to drive it to Miami. It's very quiet on the highway. It cruises, you know, easily 80, 85 miles an hour, no problem. Yeah. So, and it handles great. It's just a really good little car. Absolutely. And has a lot of room inside. When they came out with it, they bragged about the fact that it had as much interior space as the Camry. It's a smaller car than a Camry, but it has about the same interior space as a Camry. The seating in the front is very spacious, very comfortable. Seating in the back is good for 3 people can ride back there. I've had 3 people back there. But it has a lot of carrying capacity as far as space in it. Let's see. The black snowflake is a grail piece. Getting that watch is probably about as likely as getting a stainless Daytona at retail with with no prior purchase history. Well, the difference is if a black snowflake does come up for sale, it probably won't be, super outrageously priced. We'll see. How well do you handle the heat and humidity in Florida during the summer? I've never been there. I mean, I shouldn't say never. I haven't been there in the summer for probably 45 years. Um, in Sarasota, it's not really that terrible because it's close to the Gulf, so it is moderated a little bit as far as the heat. And I'll tell you what, summers here outside of Washington, D.C. can be very humid and hot as well, especially July. That said, I wouldn't want to spend the hot months down in Florida. I think it's better to spend those months somewhere else. The Florida, Sarasota specifically, the weather is beautiful November, December, January, February, March, and I'd say the first half of April. That's about it. After that, it's going to start getting hot and uncomfortable. So after that, I would suggest going elsewhere. Yeah. What else? I'm trying to think. We should plug Zello again. We should plug Zello just so people know. This is the Watches channel. The app is called Zello, Zello. It's a walkie-talkie app. And there's a channel called Watches. So if you go to the App Store and you search for Zello, it's going to say that it is a walkie-talkie app. And then once you add it, then you go to add a channel and you search keyword watches and then just click on that and just add the channel for watches. Aren't there locusts in Florida? There might be. The places that I have been, no, it's not Jello, it's Zello, Z as in zebra. The places that I've stayed in the wintertime, the bugs have been very controlled. Even in the evening, no real problem with like mosquito bites or anything like that. I'm sure there are some areas in Florida where they're not as controlled. In the summertime, I think they have bugs. What are they called? Palmilla bugs or something. There's some term for them. There's some big bugs that they have in the summertime. I don't know that they're locusts. I think there's something else. But anyway, those can like really pepper the front of your car. Like if you're driving fast on some back roads or something, depending on the day or night or whenever they come out, those can be a problem. But that's mainly in the summertime. I didn't have any problem at all in the wintertime there with bugs hitting the front of the car and all that nonsense. So yeah, it depends on where you are. No, it wasn't they weren't cicadas. There's some other bug down there that's a pretty big bug that is there in the summertime that they're famous for, and I can't think of the name of it right now. But no, they're not cicadas. A lot of people have swimming pools with bug cases in Florida. They have what do they call them? I don't think it's called a lanai. Maybe it's called a lanai. I guess it's called a lanai. Yeah, it's a big cage that they build over the pools and all. And those mainly come into play in the summertime. In the summertime, bugs are more of a problem. In the wintertime, not really a problem. At least not the places that I have been. Durs in the house, those bugs are called Democrats, and yes, they can definitely pepper the front of your car at high speeds. Have you guys seen the decal that they've got that they're putting on some of the gas pumps? It's a decal of Biden pointing and saying, I did that. And people are putting it like right next to the gas pump where it has the price. They're putting this sticker that has Biden pointing and saying, I did that. They're putting them on the gas pumps. I think it's hilarious. So yeah, I told my buddy, I said, well, first of all, he shut down all the oil and gas production, clamped down on it here in the US of A, so that we went from being an exporting nation to an importing nation, importing gasoline, right? And crude oil or whatever we import, and then I guess we convert it or whatever we do. So that's step one that he did that got us in this current predicament, right? And now he's doing all these sanctions, right? A bunch of U.S. companies are shutting down in Russia, McDonald's and Starbucks and all these companies, right? Not that they made that much money in Russia anyway. Most of them didn't have that many stores. I think McDonald's had 800 stores or something, which is nothing for them, right? But anyway, he's stifling all of this commerce, all of this business. There are other things that we do import from Russia that are very important materials that we need, that we may or may not be able to get from other places. So, we have these half-baked measures, and then we keep escalating the measures to see how far we can push, right, before things get worse. I mean, that sounds real dicey to me. It sounds real dicey to me. In Panama, the gas price raised today 9%. We're at $4.30 a gallon. You're lower than us. We're closer to $5 a gallon here. And I think Rich was saying they're getting close to $6 a gallon in some parts of California. So, yeah. What else? Okay, we talked about how we're pushing the bear and getting closer and closer to World War III. We talked about that. I assume prices are lagging here. Gas prices used to be a bit higher here than in the USA. Okay. I bought gas today at $6.10 a gallon. Whoa. And people are wondering why I have a Prius. Ask again why I have a Prius. Oh, God. It makes a difference when you get 50 miles to the gallon. Just saying. I guess that's it. I think we're going to be able to end early. We didn't have much of a turnout. Most people don't give a rat's rear end about Grand Seiko. So since that was on the thumbnail and that's what we were talking about as our main topic, most people don't give a rat's rear end about that. If we do something about Rolex, then we'll have 30 or 40 people in here watching live. But yeah, not Grand Seiko. Gas is out of control. Lucky I don't drive much. Time for the wrench gang to get mopeds. It's interesting. I've been thinking about what motorcycle to get when I'm going to get a motorcycle. I'm going to get another something, either a motorcycle or a big scooter. And I'll tell you, the thing that is intriguing to me is the Suzuki Burgman scooter. They made a Burgman 650cc scooter, executive model. They discontinued it, I think, a couple years ago. I think maybe even 2018, maybe even 4 years ago. They discontinued selling it in the USA. But they're around. You can buy them. But what's really neat about the Burgman 650 is it has heated seats for the driver and the passenger. It has heated grips. It has a lot of storage under the seat. It's a 650cc. It's got a lot of power. It gets like 70 miles to the gallon. It's fuel injected, right? It gets like 70 miles to the gallon because it's very aerodynamic. The only issue is as far as I know, it does not have cruise control, which is a bummer. But I think you can put an aftermarket cruise control on it that's halfway decent. But it's kind of cool that they come with heated grips. They come with heated seats, which are really nice when you have a motorcycle. If you're leaving on a cold morning or something like that, you turn those heated grips on. It really warms you right up. I had them on my BMW. And I had them on my Harley also. So yeah. And the other thing about a scooter, even if it's a big scooter like that, you can tend to get away with parking them sometimes places where they'd get pissed off if you parked a motorcycle. Sometimes they have a little more flexibility if it's a quote scooter, right? Even though that's a pretty big freaking scooter. So anyway, I'm honing in on that. The other bike I'm thinking about is another Honda Shadow. Some of the later ones, I think they stopped making the 1100 some years ago, but I think some of the later ones were fuel injected. So that's a possibility. A Honda Shadow ACE model, the American Classic Edition. If I get one that's fuel injected, that would be that'd be a possibility. Let's see. Can you show us what they look like? What looks like? Great Reset. We can't end. They want us all in Teslas. Okay, Teslas. Yeah, they're junk. What? Okay. I think we should have a 5% discount on gas for each vaccine shot we have. There's stifles in the house. Just get a Can-Am Spider, Craig. Can get it in automatic. It goes in reverse. You can pull a small trailer with it. Heated handlebars, tons of custom options, safer and inexpensive. Why would it be safer? I don't know that it would be safer. If you get hit in one of those, you're going to be in bad way, just like if you get hit on a motorcycle. And I don't think you can park them as many places. They're wider, I don't think you can park them as many places. Kyle Jett in the house. I wish we just got the Suzuki Jimmy here. Yeah. BMW has scooters, drive shaft and all, but I swear they're the size of Goldwings. Here's the thing. A belt drive is also really good. The Harleys had belt drives, and those things would last like 100,000 miles. So I have no problem with a belt drive or shaft drive. And in some ways, a belt drive is actually an advantage because it's a lot cheaper to replace the belt. If the drive shaft gives trouble, right, that's really expensive. So the belts last a long time and they're cheap to replace, right? Let's see. Harleys are allegedly more reliable today and less prone to leaking. Maybe. I'm sure they've improved them, but I would still be scared to death of them. You must be surrounded by liberals by living in Maryland. How difficult is it to make friends while living behind? It's not easy. That's why I'm going to get the hell out of here. Spider is safer because it's 3 wheels, less likely to tip, especially in bad weather. Tip. I don't understand what you mean. A motorcycle tips automatically when you turn. I don't know. Those scare me. I don't know that they would be safer than a motorcycle. The whole point of getting a motorcycle or scooter for me is like if I want to go to downtown Sarasota, I want to go to some event or go to something where parking might be an issue, where I can just kind of stick at places and I think that would kind of defeat the purpose. If I had the 3-wheel job, I might as well just drive the Prius down there, right? And park it somewhere, right? I just don't think Craig, are you moving, Craig? I'm just going to be spending more time in Florida, which I did before anyway, but I just haven't been the last couple of years with COVID and with the business issues I had, and I just ended up stranded up here, but that's going to change. Oh, let's see. Spider has 2 wheels in the front one. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. It's like a 4-wheeler, expect 3 wheels. Yeah, but yeah, no, I don't know that I would think of that as being safer. It just scares me to death. I had to change my sprockets and chain after 12 miles an hour. Yeah, chain is not a good way to go. Chain is not a good on an off-road bike that you don't ride that much. It's okay. All right, here I'll show you the Burgman. Give me a second here. Okay. All right, so that's the Burgman 650 Executive. Burgman 650 Executive. Okay. See what happens if we click on this. So yeah, there you go. That's the Burgman 650 Executive. Belt-driven bikes are quite rare. No, I don't know how rare they are. I don't think it's that uncommon. It's better than a chain. It's quieter, smoother, and lasts a lot longer. So I think it's either that or shaft drive is what you want. Let's see. I've been in Florida, Craig. It's nice down there. Yeah, in the wintertime, it's absolutely beautiful. The Spider is safer because you don't have to worry about laying it down if the bike slips in crap weather. Yeah, but if you slip, you're going to go off the road and crash into a foam pole. So you don't want to do that anyway on either thing. You don't want to. I hate to tell you guys, but when I ride motorcycles, I ride very carefully. I don't ride fast. I had big cruiser bikes. Even when I was younger on the BMWs and things like that, I didn't ride crazy like a lot of the people were doing. I never put my bike down. I never laid the bike down. I ride very carefully. I mean, low and slow, especially once we started getting the Harleys. You ride low and slow, man. You keep an eye out in the mirrors to make sure somebody doesn't come up and rear end you because you're riding low and slow. But you ride low and slow. You enjoy the scenery. You go take the back roads. You stop someplace nice for lunch. We weren't riding the hyper bikes. We weren't riding crazy. If we're going to do that, we're going to do that in like a Shelby GT500, Mustang, or we're going to do that, in a V12 Jaguar or something. We're not going to do that on a motorcycle. Didn't do that. Didn't get there. Didn't go there. Most cruiser type bikes have belts. Okay. Will you still do live shows there? Yeah, I'm going to have a full studio set up. Shaft drive is the way to go, says Dirk. I need shows. Carlos is in the house. Is the Burgman transmission with screws or pins and collars? Good question. Palmetto bugs. Yes, that's it. They're big roaches that fly. How fun is that? So on that lovely note, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to get something to eat, but hopefully we straighten things up, straighten things out, so people will understand that do not make your conclusions based on macro photos that you see on the internet. Go and actually look at the watch, see, touch, and feel it, and buy the watch based on your experiences with the actual watch. And that's why I don't recommend that people buy watches over the internet, tell you the truth. I think now if you've already seen it, you know the watch and all that, and then hunt on the internet to get your best deal, that's fine. But I really think you should see, touch, and feel a watch before you lock and load on it. Will Bree be going to Florida? Bree loves Florida. Yes, she wants to spend a lot of time in Florida. Craig Lance is calling in. I sent Pix an email. I think you guys are scamming. Oh, okay. I didn't even know that BMW made this. I didn't know that BMW made a big scooter. I wonder if they sell it in this country. The problem is BMW scares me. They just, the maintenance costs on those. I've had a couple of them, and if something goes wrong on them, the maintenance cost is just insane. And I just think that the Japanese, just build a more reliable machine. So I think I would go with the Burgman over this piece. But yeah, this looks very similar to the Burgman. And the Burgman the Burgman 650 is still sold in other parts of the world. It's just not imported to the US. The biggest one they import is the 400cc now. So that's why I'd have to buy one used, which is fine. I save a bunch of money that way anyway, because they do depreciate the first couple years. So you buy one of these from somebody who kept it in the garage, didn't ride it much, it's still like new. That's what you do. This is the perfect item to buy 3, 4, 5 years old from somebody who just kept it in the garage and didn't use it much. On a serious note, will Steve be doing a show on the new? I tried to call him today. He got the email about this show. I haven't heard from him on that subject. And I did message him about that. Police here drive BMW bikes. Yeah. Yeah, and they have unlimited funds, right, to do whatever they want. Because they're spending other people's money. That's how that works when you're spending other people's money. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. The BMW bike might be fine. It might be fine from a reliability standpoint. I don't know. Boozer says, you're right. Those scooters retail for as much as a car. I think the high-end ones are around 10 grand, aren't they? Around 10,000. And so you can buy them used for 3 or 4 grand. You can buy the Burgman. I've seen the Burgman executives for around 4 or 5,000 for the executive model. There was one for like 9 grand, was like an outlier, but most of them are like 4 to 5,000, depending on the mileage on them and the condition. And I'd want to get one that's just like jumping up and down, gorgeous, right? Low mileage, garage kept. Even if I paid 6 grand for it, right? That would be a lot better than paying 9 or 10 for one new. They drive Ford cars and BMW bikes. Used to ride Harleys. Yeah. Yeah, they used to ride Harleys in this area too, and I think they've done the same thing. I think they use BMWs now. I know the state police do. I think it depends on the jurisdiction, what they're using these days. But yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We're going to call it a day. Remember, the Watches channel on Zello, Zello, the Watches channel. Be there or be square. And there's a bunch of links in the description of this video. Bunch of links. Check them out. Goldwings are the ultimate compact. The Goldwings are just too massive. They're like 800, 900 pounds. They're just, in my opinion, they're just too massive for using around town. They're a great, like, long distance touring car, highway touring motorcycle, a highway touring motorcycle like that. But it's too big and bulky to be using around town, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. So that's the deal with that.